Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Daily Detroit, your show for Thursday, January 30th, 2025. Coming to you from our studio at Tech Town. Joining me at the table are two of our illustrious contributors. To my left, man about town, Devin O'Reilly. How are you?
Great to be here, Jared. Back to being in person. I love it.
Yes, and to my right, the Prince of Brightmoor himself, Norris Howard.
Man, listen, I'm always in awe when I'm in the presence of Mr. Friday himself, Devin O'Reilly. It's a very exciting show anytime he and I are together.
I would like to mention that a listener in person called you the Prince of Brightmoor last week.
Yes, that happened.
We saw some listeners at the Detroit Policy Conference.
lot of
I got to
listeners.
mention, there were some people who came up. I always love getting recognized for daily. So that was awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to give a quick thank you out to all the listeners who came by the table at the Detroit Policy Conference. We love talking to you, love getting to know you. If you see us in the streets or at an event, please come on by, say what's up, tell us what you love about the show. That's always fun.
Let's get started. We got a lot of stories to talk about, but let's get started with where we've been. Devin O'Reilly, as you are the senior correspondent, if you will, I'll have you go first.
Sure. Happy to, Jared. I think that I went to a place, it's not like super new, just like within the last year, Vecino. That's on 4th Street over there, on 3rd Street, 3rd Street over there in, I guess you call it the Midtown area. And it's been open for just about a year. It's high-end Mexican, although I even hate to call it Mexican because it's very it's very elevated. This isn't like burritos and tacos. This is more like Oaxacan cuisine is probably the way I would categorize it. I think Randy went there. So we do have a little bit of a baseline. I'm not sure. I think he thought it was good.
Engineer Randy was not the biggest fan.
Yeah, but I was. So I'll say that. I was. It was really great. The vibe was just amazing. I went there for dinner. And the vibe was just super cool, like dark, warm, candlelight, like kind of hip music playing. It's just a very cool scene. You could go there and just get like cocktails and like some apps and stuff. Like casual, but still good for dinner. The menu, usually you kind of need some help with it because it's kind of, well, if you speak Spanish, actually.
So you'll be doing all right if you speak
This menu
Yeah.
would be pretty easy for you. For me, not so much. So I needed a little walkthrough. But they have a whole section on masa because they make their kind of corn masa. They get it and make it fresh every day. So they have a whole kind of different tostadas, stuff on the masa, the fried masa, the kind of the softer ones. It's really good. We got a whole fish with like a salsa verde and a red salsa on it. So we're talking about like you get fish and kind of tortillas, and it's a really good kind of everything comes together really well. The cocktail program is fantastic. A lot of mezcal, as you can imagine, which is fantastic. And I will definitely be back. Date nights, casual nights out. I was very impressed.
Now, I have not gone, but I love the idea of like elevated regional cuisine and taking, there's such like a stereotype about Mexican food that it has to be cheap and it has to be this or that. I like the idea of elevating it, not just even by like standards, but like just showcasing so many things that already exist, kind of,
Yeah, and it kind of blends the kind of both elements of that. Like there's a very great chips and salsa program. You get your chips and salsa like you would at a Mexican restaurant, but there's 3 or 4 different salsas. They're all really, really good. And then you have everything from like broccolini and octopus to steak, chicken, fish, prawns. I mean, it really runs the gamut, but everything seems to be done really, really well.
All right. Prince of Brightmoor, Norris Howard, where were you?
Yeah, man. So I was really excited to finally head to this place because this was a place that I've been trying to get around to going to for a few weeks now, and that's the Aero Blend Archery Cafe.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, man. I was really excited. So it's like, obviously you guys know, like I am a coffee buff. Like there's not a cafe that I have met that I don't like. And I've gone to this place and you go in, you get your coffee, and for like $15, you get a half-hour like little archery lesson. And you literally just shoot arrows at a target as you sip espresso.
Is the coffee incorporated somehow, or you just kind of shoot between sips?
Yeah, you shoot between sips, and obviously there's like little breaks in between. The coffee's okay, the coffee is coffee, but you're not going there to get like a life-changing like Cive coffee, right?
I have questions.
Yeah,
because
maybe you'll cover some of mine, Jared.
like, okay, let's say you do a regular Americano, a couple shots of espresso.
Yeah.
Now, what if you Dan Campbell this and you're like coffee, cold brew, espresso, and then try to shoot arrows. Like I feel like the jitteriness.
Nah, no
somebody
jitters.
somebody might end up in looking like one of those cartoons with the arrows through.
Nah, man, it's like you ever like, play like a Final Fantasy RPG and you take the item and you get a buff. And it's like now you're more focused in. So it's like you get tunnel vision and the focus from the espresso.
What was the thing you would take in Metal Gear Solid?
Oh, diazepam.
Right.
Yeah, you would pop pills. Yeah, you would take a diazepam.
We do not encourage popping pills.
I think that's an actual drug.
It is an actual drug. You would take a diazepam to steady your aim. But you have your espresso and the drinks are cool, and they do smoothies and lattes and all that stuff. But the draw is being able to shoot friggin' arrows randomly, and it's really fun, I will say.
I mean, jokes aside, do you know though, Norris, like where they got these two concepts together? Like it's so
I have no
random.
clue. I think the owner is just like a guy who did archery in his spare time and also wanted to open a cafe. But like, I think this is where we are with, experiential, restaurants and cafes. Like, how many times can we do the gastropub? How many times can we do the French cafe? How many times can we do, certain things? It's like, this is a really new and interesting spin on something.
I feel like this is the next evolution of the axe throwing place.
It is. It's the next step. And I felt it was significantly safer than axe throwing, to be perfectly honest with you.
I'm not sure if...
No, I said I felt. I didn't say it was. I said I felt it was more safe.
Axe just seems more brutal,
Yeah.
If I got an arrow in my hand, I don't feel as dangerous as if I had wielding an axe.
Well, yeah, like an arrow doesn't like remove a limb, like an axe can. But one thing I will say that I found to be very interesting is that there were a lot of families there when I went. This was like 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, and it was just like families were there. There were some young teens clearly skipping school. There were like, folks of all different cultures and persuasions, and I just thought this is really awesome.
I just wonder what other kind of medieval weaponry can we incorporate into our coffee and restaurant programs.
LARPing,
we got
man.
We got axes, we got arrows. What do we want to do? Jousting
Maces?
and coffee?
Yeah, jousting.
Mace.
Jousting is the next one. Jousting.
Yeah, that'll be.
I'm all for like full armor jousting cafe. Sign me up.
This is wild. Where is it again?
It's in Westland, right across the street from Westland Mall on, I believe that's Newburgh and Warren.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Well, I did a budget pick, kind of a budget pick. People are like, okay, let's do the stuff that's kind of work a day. Well, I hadn't been there in a minute. I wanted to mention it. Kouzina in downtown Royal Oak.
Absolutely.
Solid Euro.
I don't know it. This is news to me.
Well,
What?
I never even heard of it. Yeah, I know.
There's very few places in Oakland County, though there is a
know.
place.
Sure.
And one of them closed, and we'll get to that. But
Yes. But Greek food bowls, things like that, the pricing was decent. The food was good. The stuff was fresh. I love a place that's like a grab and go and like embraces it. You just hop in, do your thing, head out. I mean, it's been around for a while for a reason, right? Because it serves a real practical purpose. But I love seeing these like smaller places hold on and thrive by just providing good stuff like cucumbers and chickpeas and like healthy things. Like people all the time are like inexpensive and healthy. Well, for the most part, there you go. Kouzina, downtown Royal Oak, just north of 11 Mile.
sounds like we could use a Kouzina downtown.
We absolutely should. Kouzina's great. We should absolutely.
Really, a
have one.
cosign. I'll take that.
Yeah, man. I've gone there many, many times. It's been there forever.
So let's slide down Woodward and get to Ferndale and talk about a closure. Public House in Ferndale will be no more coming in February. Let's talk about it. It will become a what is it? Sidecar slider
sliders.
bar, which actually they have a bunch of locations all over Metro Detroit. They've been growing like crazy.
I don't feel like I need any more sliders. Do
Facts.
we, Norm?
I'm
We
with
need
that.
more
No, we
sliders.
don't need
and
more
burgers?
sliders.
Please, no more burgers, no more chicken. From here on out, enough of it.
I'm with you.
I don't want to cover it if another one comes
No,
up.
I'm with you. And I think this really frustrates me because Public House was one of the few places where it was like beer and vegan options.
Yeah.
Like it was like
They had a-
very
the
And it
whole
failed
vegan menu.
because they said the economy was too hard and that they weren't making any money.
I mean, look, okay, Norris, let me go first, and then you can kind of give your 2 cents. Like, I used to go there a lot when I was in my brunching era. hardcore brunching era. And they had a great brunch. Great
yeah.
cocktail program. They did have a vegan brunch. It was vibey. It was cool. You'd probably see some people that, were all hanging out last night, kind of the next morning for brunch. So I love that. I hadn't gone back in a while, but I did go back recently this past summer with my wife, who, as I mentioned before, tries to basically eat vegan. And it was great because we could go out and there was an array of options for her at a vegan menu. The cocktails were pretty good. They were like, okay, they're not standout. It wasn't super crowded. I didn't notice anything, askew or like weird. It seemed like a normal night out. But we did hear from some people that maybe things were slipping a little bit.
I went to a holiday party just a few weeks ago there, and it was solid. Like, I'm trying to remember what the things I had were because I want to like get the recipes before like they run away. I really enjoyed it. It's tough to hear. I mean, 12 years is quite a long run.
Yeah, we
for
always
any
say if it's
for any
that long,
restaurant. But between the message in this press release and then also the owner of Batch Brewing came online and talked about and did an Instagram video about you need to go support your local stuff, predicting that 2025 will be a very hard year and 2024 was a hard year for your local businesses, food establishments.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's some legislation still being mulled around that's going to be coming down the pipe that is going to squeeze certain restaurants a little bit harder. We talked about it on the show with the raise of minimum wage and all that. But also at the same time, I looked at a place like Public House, and every time I went, it was packed. And I just went, I would say, last fall for just a dinner with friends, and it was packed. And so, I guess obviously we don't know the background. We don't know kind of what the overhead was, how much staff we're making. So those remain unknowns, at least to us right now. But for me, I looked at a place like Public House and I go, your location can't get much better. Your product is pretty great. You've carved out a niche that I think is pretty needed in the area, and you still couldn't succeed. To me, I feel like there's got to be more to this story because it's not passing the smell test for me.
I don't know. Like, I really want to support different options like vegan and such, but I find in Metro Detroit, if it can't work, if it's having trouble working in Ferndale, it's just this town loves our burgers and our chicken and our Coneys. Like we did an Instagram video about the basement of we'll talk about this in a bit, the basement of American Coney Island. Dude, as we're recording this, 160,000 people came through it. You know what I mean? Like, there's like an energy for this.
But I mean,
and it is frustrating to me, but like, I'm having trouble seeing where this works.
But I'm gonna push back on that because for me, it's just like, I don't necessarily think that people don't want to eat vegan. I don't think that there's not a market.
I think there's a market, but I think when you eat vegan or eat vegetarian, you eat at home more.
I mean, I think that's
because
true
there's not as many options.
Because there's not options, right? So to me, that screams like you didn't do enough to promote your vegan options, because that was a reason. Almost every vegan I know that lives in Metro Detroit, Public House was a mainstay in their like going out, repertoire.
Okay, but if you're going out, you want top-notch stuff. You want an experience, and it's harder to deliver that as a vegan. I'm sorry. Like, as a taste experience in general, I find that harder. Like, give me steak.
I disagree. I just wholeheartedly disagree. As somebody who has eaten vegan a lot over the past, 7 to 8 years, I wholly disagree.
I think it's either hit or miss. It's one or the other. Like, a lot of times I've had a lot of stuff where it's vegan and it's no. But
I disagree with I just agree with Norris in the sense that I think there's more to this.
Okay. Would love to hear your feedback. dailydetroit@gmail.com. Closing and opening in the coffee world. Alto Coffee, without much fanfare. A listener sent in a note. Literally, there wasn't a press or anything. A listener, thank you so much for it, sent in a note that just permanently closed on the door. That was right next to Brush Park. That is the second coffee shop in Brush Park that has met its demise very recently. 14 East recently shuttered. Mm-hmm. And that leaves Brush Park with basically that new Cargo coffee place in the old.
Yeah.
And then Craig's, which is open part-time.
Have we been to Cargo?
I haven't been yet.
Right. I need to go.
No. All right. Well,
I need to go and
I guess I'm just going after.
Nobody has been. Also, it was weird though. Like, was that even a real coffee shop? Because
it was
like just a real estate.
It was a window.
Yeah, it was a real estate building. A real estate company.
Yeah.
And there was like a coffee window. So I don't know how I feel about this. Like, is it an official like closing of a coffee shop? I do not.
Is Milwaukee Cafe a real coffee shop to you then?
Yeah, you can go inside and order. It's its own concept.
So you could at Alto. You could go into Alto and I went in there and ordered a cereal latte, which, by the way, their cereal lattes were good.
Could you sit and type away your manifesto?
No, it seemed
You
like
can't at Milwaukee. You cannot at Milwaukee.
it seemed like an entry point for the real estate.
It's not. They're two different businesses.
All right, fine. But my thing is, listen, all right, Brush Park, it ain't there yet. That's how it feels to me.
The prices in Brush Park are a little wild right now.
They are there.
They are there. The prices are there, but
are they getting it? Because I'm seeing lots of ads for all kinds of stuff where it's like, I'm not paying $22,000 for a one bedroom.
that's
sorry.
what I'm saying. It ain't there yet.
But I don't think those places are empty either, so someone's paying.
We'll see. I'm interested. I get a lot of ads for that stuff. I'm very interested to see. But Brush Park is really looking to be that like high end district. I was talking to a listener that paid $880,000 for their townhouse.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm saying.
Somebody will pay it.
Yeah.
I saw another listing for $1.25 million.
Is
that enough
people?
to support that?
That's
right.
what I'm saying.
Right?
Is it enough people?
100 people won't support a coffee shop.
Yeah, it's not.
Saucy Brewworks didn't make it.
It's not super dense yet. Bodega, you can get coffee at Bodega, by the way.
That's true. That's a good one.
But yes, probably not as many places as there should be given Brush Park and where it is. But I don't know. Maybe that's the advantage of Brush Park is you're kind of close to Midtown. You're kind of close to downtown. You get your coffee elsewhere.
But it's not walkable. Like, that's the thing.
No.
Like, you want your neighborhood cafe to be
it
your
is.
neighbor.
Kinda.
No, I'm saying Brush Park is walkable,
Yeah.
but to get cargo, if you live all the way down in the south of Brush Park near the freeway,
Well, I guess it depends on who you're talking to.
in the winter months.
In the winter.
Me and you would
Look, all three at this table use our Chevrolets if we need to.
But I'm saying, like, if you're somebody who walking ain't your jam.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. Maybe it's more about people driving. It's how you consume your coffee. You're probably driving and getting it on your way to work or leaving work or whatever. Like, yeah.
This next one I got a press release about, and I got a little confused because it's called Sugar Please over at 150 West Jefferson, which I think there's an Amazon office in that building. It's one of the downtown office buildings. It's near the Foundation Hotel. It's near Coffee Down Under. It's near the
right off of Jefferson there.
Right off of Jefferson.
It's down
there.
the street from the carry out Anita's Kitchen.
And there is a grand opening for their coffee concept. And I thought there was a brunch concept there. Or I'm just like,
Yeah.
is this a pivot? Is this an addition? I have a few thoughts. One, I wish everybody's success, but I also am like, okay, there's a lot around there, including a Starbucks that if you're into Starbucks, I honestly think it's one of the best Starbucks in Metro Detroit, right there across from the convention center.
Yeah. I mean, but that's tough. That's a really, really tough area. Like right off like the back end of Larned there.
Yeah.
That's a really tough area because it doesn't get a lot of foot traffic. You're pretty deep into the financial district, but you're kind of hidden from kind of Jefferson traffic. That I used to work. I mean, our building was right there, and that district Detroit. Even when we worked a block away, not many people went over to the district Detroit.
Oh, that was the restaurant that it was?
Yeah, that's what it was before, and I can't really explain why. And so I really hope it does well. I'm not sure. I had been meaning, like, it was on my mental list to like check it out. But at the same time, it seemed like it was prioritizing brunch and lunch and then coffee. So I'm not sure, like, do I go there for brunch? Is that what we're really selling here? Or is it coffee? Or I guess I still don't know. But
yeah, I drive past it every day on my way home. And it's like on the weekend, it seems like it's incredibly busy. It seems like people are going, people are checking it out. And I haven't heard anything negative about it. It's on my list to go and check it out myself. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's a pivot, but it seems like the brunch concept is working. So I don't know.
We'll see. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. Let's get into some news stories. One specifically around development in the district Detroit. There is word that, well, it's a shift. I'm going to call this shift because some news outlets are reporting it as the focus of reducing the affordable housing in a building that is planned, not built yet, for district Detroit. I believe it is 2205 Cass, which is, near that University of Michigan Center for Innovation, all that. So basically, the affordable apartments are being trimmed down in that building and moved to another building, while the entirety of this building that would be built by the related companies in Olympia will be housing for U of M. I think this opens up a lot of interesting questions because there were a lot of incentives tied to affordable housing in this. Let's open up the floor. I will start out with the idea that it will be fully leased by U of M tells me that the building will probably happen because there's already a tenant for it. So I'll say moving that means that this building is far more likely to actually go.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's exactly the point I was going to bring up. I think as we move forward and we see new development in downtown Detroit and in the surrounding areas, that is going to be the sort of modus operandi. If you are coming in and you have a tenant figured out, it's going to happen. It's going to go up. If you don't have tenants figured out, if you don't got a wait list that fills up 50% of the building before you even dig the hole, get ready, because it's probably not going up.
I'll be kind of even more straightforward. This is good news. This is a positive development in this whole saga here, because not only does it mean it's going to get built, but U of M is going to lease basically the entire building, all the units. They'll, I assume, sublease them or have some kind of agreements, but it's going to be filled with students and faculty, which is exactly who you want living in a downtown.
Residents, and residents have got some
residents with
coins.
disposable income, exactly. And so it's a great use for this. And I guess, you lose affordable housing. Like you said, you're not overall. There's still 139 affordable units that are going to be involved in the project. They're just kind of shuffling the deck a little bit and saying, we're still going to do 139 affordable units. They're just going to be in a different development. So it's not we're gone with the affordable, but turning this into students and faculty is really, really great, because again, it ensures that it'll get done, because you have to get this up and functioning if you're going to while you're putting up the University of Michigan Innovation Center, because I would think they have to kind of open close to each other, because the faculty students living there need to go to the center. So it kind of ties it to that.
Yeah, and I think it's double positive, because not only do you bring those people down here, but I think the more you see the energy that building brings, I think it serves as almost a proof of concept for the rest of sort of the district Detroit stuff. Because as we see right now, like, let's be honest, they've been dragging the feet on the whole project. This should have been started, years ago. But finally having this tenant, finally seeing that something is going to, happen, I think will spur some movement on the remainder of the project, because you don't want to leave that much money on the table. Like, at that point, how much more is a parking lot monetizing that building, as opposed to, putting residents there, which both the city will love and owner will love.
I can't help but think that we're going to have a shifting conversation about affordable housing in the coming year.
After we just saw what we saw this week, it's going to be a massive shift in the affordable housing conversation, especially if that goes through and it's no longer blocked.
Referring to stuff on the federal level.
And part of it is going to be, what does affordable housing even mean? I mean,
listeners don't know.
Yeah,
listeners don't
what
know.
is affordable?
Affordable housing, some people in their brains, it's, under $1,000 a month. Some people, affordable housing is $1,750 a month. I mean, it just depends on the situation, the development, who you're talking to, what their expectations are.
And lots of people who listen to this say, okay, well, affordable in Detroit for the Detroit median income, that isn't what it means. It doesn't mean the city of Detroit. Affordable housing, under the definition of how the federal government does it, is workforce housing, because it's about the median income of the region. Because you can't, we are in one economy, and I know that you want to serve Detroiters, but Detroiters, the only way you're serving them is deeply affordable, Section 8, those kind of heavy subsidies, and that's very limited. The reality is there's only so much you can do when a family's making $38,000 a year. That requires a whole nother level of subsidy that just doesn't. It's a whole different kind of project.
And also, at the end of the day, when you look at the city of Detroit, as opposed to many other cities that are dealing with the affordable housing question, the residents the city wants to bring are the people who afford the regionally affordable housing, right? You want your kids fresh out of college that have the $60,000, $70,000 a year gig. You want to bring people who are moving to the region or moving back to the region and have maybe small families or no kids, stuff like that. Those are the folks that the city is trying to get to move to the city and occupy these newer buildings.
But how do you feel about that as a native Detroiter?
I don't care. I want people. I want money. I want residents. I want my mom's property taxes to go down. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I could care. Listen, the city is 82% African American. If it turns into 60% African American, it's still 60% African American. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, I think we need to be more, and I know we will, but more intentional and kind of honest about how we talk about affordable housing. Like, what are we really talking about? As Norris was kind of alluding to, it's like, for an example, it's like if all of a sudden some 500 unit project got announced and the units were going to be, $450 a month, who are we building that for? Who are the people who don't have anywhere else to live but would live in an apartment for $450 a month? Like, I just don't think we're we're dealing with that's a different problem. That's a whole different ball of wax.
And also that market is not as large, I think, as
Right.
people would front it to be, because, listen, at this point, if you are employed, you make more than $450 a month. If you are employed. Now, we talked about the average income. We know that there's an issue with low income folks finding decent housing. But I think what the issue is also is that that's an issue of not just inventory, but it's also an issue of access. There are people who have the money who can't make the sort of income requirements made to begin to lease some of these places. It would be easier for you to ease the income requirements for some of the buildings than it would for you to just put up a new building and say, oh, $500 rent.
When I talk to listeners, what I hear a lot is people caught in the middle.
Yes.
Where they don't make enough. They make too much, but not enough. And that is kind of where we're at, because at the end of the day, this is according to, I was talking to Robin Runyon over at Urbanized Detroit, comes on the show. It costs as much to build in Detroit as Chicago, but you can't charge Chicago rents. And Chicago, even the city of Chicago's median income reflects more of the median income of the rest of the Detroit region. And so we have a fundamental math problem here that it's going to be hard to figure this out.
Well, and part of how you solve the math problem is you get more of the region into the city, not vice versa. That's going to be the only way that some of it is eased up. And then you are going to be able to build more of the Section 8 housing, build more of the deeply affordable housing that some of the lower income residents of the city need. Because right now, what's going to get the priority is getting people with disposable income into the city who can increase the tax base. That's going to be the focus, period.
Before we get to some listener feedback, I want to mention there has been another development in the ongoing battle of the two Coneys downtown. I mention it because, oh my gosh, I did this video. I went to this press conference with the owner of American, and she's like, we're going to do this tour of the basement. And I'm like, fine. And so I was going to mention on the show. I do this video, and it's already like 160,000 people have already seen it. I had no idea this was, you know what? No, I should have an idea, because on social media, this is how it goes, right? Shiny buildings, rats and Coneys. This is how this goes. But how are we feeling? Like, there's a lot of like finger pointing back and forth with all of this thing. Are you still like, my whole family's a Lafayette family?
Well,
no
most
lies there.
people's are. I mean,
I don't know.
I think there's a clear like underlying thing that we can just say on the show. It's like, I don't know, I'm not implying any motivation, but you want to do a poll? You want to do a poll? Do a poll, Jer. Throw up a poll.
Let's do
because
it. Let's do a poll.
I think that 90% of people are Lafayette people first anyway. And I think this was a little bit of trying to, take a shot at the more popular Coney here. I would go to both. I would go to both. I prefer Lafayette. I would go to both. I don't go to either though, because that's just not my style of food.
I'm a Dooley's guy.
I've already had enough. Yeah, there you go. I've already had enough Coneys in my life probably, but
shout out to Noni Sherwood.
Yeah.
Man, right there. That's see, we talk about 90% of people. No, you put up the poll, you add in Noni Sherwood, you add in L. George's, you add in real neighborhood Coney.
Aren't you an L. George's guy?
I'm an L. George's guy.
That's true. Just like we don't want a 2-horse race in our democracy, we shouldn't be that in the Coneys either. We need to do a poll, but it needs to have multiple suggestions of other places.
That's what I'm talking about. So if everybody talk about Lafayette and American, I guarantee you, if you went where I'm from over on the west side, ain't nobody saying neither one. They saying L. George's or they saying Noni Sherwood flat out.
DailyDetroit@gmail.com. I want nominations. Let's do a bracket.
Ooh, Coney face off.
Right. All right. Listener feedback. Few different issues here. I have not previewed these in a Daily Detroit tradition. I do not share these with you before we get into it. So I want your quick reactions. First off, Michael, I heard the Detroit Policy Conference episode. So much talk about Ann Arbor to Detroit. We're so culturally different. I don't even think of them as our region. Why not focus on just Wayne State that is here as opposed to U of M?
Well, part of the reason is that Michigan is coming here. They're going to have a presence, like we talked about, in the city of Detroit. And maybe the listener doesn't realize how big of a presence that's going to be. There's going to be, and we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that are going to be invested into housing, into classrooms, into technology. And then also you have U of M Dearborn, an outpost of almost 10,000 students in Dearborn, a stone's throw away from Detroit. So U of M is very much a player here. And once the kind of future of health destination grand comes to fruition, you will see Michigan State really as a major player. So no disrespect to Wayne State at all. And obviously they were featured heavily on the stage, but there's other people in town, and it's really, as as you saw at the conference, it's not a rivalry as much as it is a more is better.
I also think, have you driven through Wayne State lately? Like there's been massive investment in Wayne State in the past decade, from the time that I was going. I mean, you're talking about new apartments, new dorms, renovations going to multiple halls, new lecture halls, new libraries. Wayne State is doing the stuff that a school should be doing to improve its student body. And, I think right now, the Mike Ilitch School of Business just, went up a couple years ago. It's not like there's no movement, but I think when we're talking about Ann Arbor to Detroit, I don't necessarily think that it's a difference of culture. I think when you look at U of M, the size of that campus, you look at how many U of M graduates and Michigan State graduates have matriculated through the city of Detroit, there is no way that you can separate either of those towns.
I think that cities are the best when they're hubs. Throughout all of civilization's history, cities are relevant when they are hubs, and Detroit will be relevant if it is the hub of all of these things that are happening. These connections are very important, and I'm just going to tell you anecdotally, keeping it 100. We have more listeners in Washtenaw County and Ann Arbor than we do Macomb County, because the economic center of so many things is moving west in this state, and connecting these things together, like we talked about, they're not that far away. We should just have in my mind, we should just have a train that just goes there. In my mind, not only should you choose Best Choice Roofing, but you should also have a train.
Which we have an Amtrak, but we can do better. We can do better.
True blue commuter rail.
Yeah. Brian, I just listened to the I-75 CAPS podcast. I was a participant at the meetings to gather community input. One of my suggestions, and many others, was to restore the street walls that were eliminated during freeway construction, even if it only means one-story storefronts due to infrastructure limitations. If not on all the streets, at least on Woodward, this would serve to eliminate the gap-toothed look and restore the city feel. This was met with enthusiasm. Alas, when the latest renderings were released, nothing, nada, simply sidewalks leading to grass, more green space, nothing that resembles a city. Very disappointing. So much for community input. I have a couple of thoughts on this one, but I'll leave it to you two first.
I think when we're talking about stuff like that, again, you're not going to build something without tenants, right? Every storefront downtown isn't even filled. We're not at max capacity anywhere in the city of Detroit. So why would we build new frontage for things we don't already, like we don't have it?
And couldn't we start with a market concept, like prove demand or something like that over time?
You could start with it, but why?
You know what I mean? Like a temporary market, like bring people in or something.
But that's still an extra, few $1 million on top of something that you just want to put the thing there.
Yeah, unfortunately, the demand just isn't there.
Yeah.
That's just the problem. It'd be nice. It's a nice to have. It'd be a great wish to have retail and storefronts all along there. But the demand just isn't there yet. Like we talk about, we got to fill other storefronts first. So that's why, unfortunately, the latest renderings aren't as imaginative as I know some people would have liked.
I will say that this is disappointing for me because when I go to places like Columbus, there's a great freeway cap that has restaurants and retail on both sides where you don't even know there's a freeway there. It looks really great, but I'll be honest, that Main Street strip has got more businesses as far as retail footprint than anything we got down here. And I hate to say that. I don't want to knock us, but I think it's important. We know one of the things even in the conference was making sure we step up. We got to get more money. We got more things going through here. And I want to see that happen. And that takes time.
And just to connect it back to a conversation that we had earlier, U of M coming downtown and Michigan State coming to New Center in the medical center over there. That's the stuff that gets people to move to a city and not leave. That's the stuff that takes somebody who grew up in Flint, somebody who grew up in Midland, somebody who grew up in Traverse City to come and live in Detroit and not leave Detroit. So it would be great if we could put the retail on the cap, but as Devin said, not only is the demand not there, there's kind of no proof of concept that even all of the stuff that's downtown is going to survive beyond the next 5 years. That's how we got to think in Detroit right now. There are certain things that we see have stayed around, but
we need more residents.
Need more residents.
That's got to be a top priority. And I think listeners know we've had people from the Downtown Detroit Partnership, other people on. I'm not alone in this. Finally, a little bit of politics. I know somebody's going to groan, but we'll put it there. Scott, Lisa, and Joanne, they were all Trump voters, say that they are all in for Mike Duggan for mayor. I am paraphrasing, but basically they don't like the current Republican or Democrat dichotomy. They voted for Trump because they wanted change. They don't feel like Democrats were doing anything. They wanted to see action. They feel like Duggan would be action, and that even though he has a history as a Democrat, they will gladly lock their vote in now. They're not considering other Republicans.
Listen to me. I'm telling you, that is southern Macomb County. That is middle Oakland County. That's parts of western Wayne County. Like, that is his bag, bro. I'm telling you, people are really underestimating this cat in this race, man. And I think it'll be folly for the Democrats to continue to do so.
I don't want to belabor the point because I've said as much before on our Duggan episode, but that all tracks. That tracks, and that's why he, despite whether people want to admit it or not, he is the front runner at this point.
And I think it's telling that Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg decided to run for. He hasn't decided, but he's strongly indicated that he's not running for governor, but he's running for Senate.
Better lane for him.
It is a better lane. It's a winnable race.
All right. Would love your feedback. dailydetroit@gmail.com. Thank you so much to our members. Patreon.com/dailydetroit. Local media, local conversations need local support. We have a brand new website at dailydetroit.com that you're going to want to check out, without a doubt. We're very proud of it. Thank you to Adam Cook for all the technology behind the scenes, as well as the support of ghost.org, the platform that we work on to have open media that is, we own and that we're able to share with the community.
And it's sexy. It's a sexy website when you look at it.
Does Devin O'Reilly agree?
I agree. It's pretty sexy.
All right. Well, with that, I'm Jer Stays.
I'm Norris Howard.
I'm Devin O'Reilly.
Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.